Tampa Bay Bucks 23, Atlanta Falcons 20. This was a fun fourth quarter, back and forth game. Scoring started slow, but man, lot to discuss here. Baker Mayfield, though, with the game-winning touchdown to Emeka Egbuka, 25-yarder. The rookie first-rounder from Ohio State, Egbuka, with 2 touchdowns in this game. Both really nice throws from Baker, which was part of my scouting report on Egbuka. It's almost like he induces big-time throws from his quarterback. I don't know what that is. I just feel like quarterbacks throw absolute dimes to him, and he's really good. And so he had those 2 touchdowns. Younghoe Koo misses a game-tying field goal.
Time to put the German kid in.
That would have put this game into overtime. So a lot to discuss here. What were your thoughts on this game as the Bucs go 1-0 here?
Yeah, this is one of the games of the week. It was fun. Back and forth. Both teams had a shot late. A lot of interesting things to talk about in the game. Awesome game. I think the first thing was, okay, Tampa Bay goes into the game. We know Tristan Wirfs is down hurt at left tackle for a little bit. What do? It turns out they don't just put the next guy up at left tackle. They basically shuffle the entire offensive line heading into this game. It was bizarre. Graham Barton goes out to left tackle. College tackle, had been an NFL center. So that's immediately changing 2 positions instead of 1.
I wasn't expecting that. I don't know if that was known in the media ahead of the game.
But then in addition to that, their solution to the center, like now you've opened up a hole at centers, you've made, you're changing 2 positions instead of 1. Well, they decided, well, how do you make that even worse? Well, let's take the guard and make him play center. So now you're changing 3 positions to change 1 position. Like, wild
But
decision.
I think Graham Barton might be their best left tackle.
Sure. I mean, I think it's a creative solution. I don't hate it, but it's like normally, offensive line is the one kind of unit group in the NFL where there's legitimate, demonstrable power to continuity, right? The fewer things you have to change, the better, always. Like to the point where you should re-sign an average player if it just means you can keep the same 5 guys out there. There's legitimate value to that. And instead, the Bucs were like, nah, rather than what are the fewest things we can change, we're going to change like the maximum number of things we could possibly change to fit 1 position.
I thought Barton held up well overall. By the way, remember, as a draft prospect, as you said, he was a left tackle at Duke. Daniel Jeremiah and others called him a 5-position player, which was his value. I think a lot of people valued him as a guard, and obviously the Bucs and other teams liked him as a center. So it's not crazy that he kicked out to left tackle. He got bull rushed a couple times, including rookie James Pierce. I think got him twice, almost folded him up. But overall, I thought he held up pretty well. It was a fun game to rewatch, too. I thought Baker Mayfield in the passing offense, the Falcons' defense did a really nice job early on. They were bringing linebackers. Divine Diablo had some really nice plays, both as a pass rusher and in coverage. Caden Ellis. They're filled with these hybrid type of players. Diablo was a safety in college. Caden Ellis is a linebacker conversion from edge. We know what Jalen Walker is as a first-round pick, edge/linebacker. He didn't do a ton, but they used him in the rotation. James Pierce as a pass rusher. So a lot of trickeration up front. Sending linebackers, I thought the Bucs had some issues with that early on. Baker Mayfield was off. I think he was 0 for his first 6 throwing the ball. But then they settled down. I think the Bucs used play action, used empty a little bit more. They found a way to, just make a few more plays. Baker also hit defenders' hands with like 3 or 4 passes. Xavier Watts and Ellis had his hands on a couple. He got away with some, but made the big plays when he really needed to, which includes both of those Emeka Egbuka touchdowns and some key scrambles from Baker Mayfield as well. Anytime the Falcons lost their gap control, Baker did a pretty nice job making plays with his legs, which is what he's done these last couple of years as starter.
There was one where he had a ridiculous throw it right to a defender type of play, and then was almost like staring down the guy, and then I think the next play makes a big play, scrambling, takes on first down. It's like, God, you've got to come up with those when they're thrown your way.
So Baker, he finished 17 of 32 for 167, so not a ton of yards, but 3 touchdowns and no picks. The 2 touchdowns were beauties to Egbuka. The other one to Bucky Irving in the flat. Bucky had a tough time getting anything going on the ground, but really nice catch and effort to dive for the pylon for that touchdown. But yeah, I thought Baker had 2, 3, 4 interception opportunities where the Falcons, in their game, from their perspective, as far as missed opportunities go, I think they left some opportunities on the table. I came away kind of encouraged by the Falcons' defense. I don't know. James Pierce had some nice rushes in there. Walker, not as much. I think he still needs to refine his game as a pass rusher, but I like the way they use their linebackers, and I think they can cause some problems for opposing offenses the way they deploy their hybrid-type players up front.
Yeah, they've got they have some horses that can do damage. You've been for a while wondering where the explosive plays are for Bijan Robinson.
It's the pass game.
Yeah, not apparently on the ground again, but dude, every time that guy caught a pass, a check down, a dump from the backfield, like the first move he makes after he gets the ball in his hands is always like destroys the first defender.
So the first defender happened to be Servassier Dennis, and it felt like the entire Falcons offense depended on him. The Falcons got nothing going on the ground. Bijan and Algier both had 24 yards. They combined for 22 carries for 48 yards.
That's not great.
Dennis is a very good run defender. You saw him blowing up plays in the backfield. He was very good working downhill. The Bucs run defense, Vita Vea, tough to move, the whole deal. But when Dennis was one-on-one with Bijan Robinson, that was the long touchdown. And then he bit on, I don't know what he bit on. He just left Bijan wide open. But Bijan finished with 6 catches for 100 yards, including a 50-yarder. So, yeah, it felt like the Falcons' offense was dependent on whether or not whatever Dennis did, right? He was a hammer in the run game, helped slow them down, but he was a liability in coverage, and Bijan Robinson and the Falcons took advantage of that.
All right, that's enough of that, Steve. It's come to my attention that only 40% of people watching this are actually subscribed. So hit the subscribe button. It helps the channel a ton, and we appreciate it hugely. Now back to Steve. Yeah, again, when he's done this before, like in his sort of previous career highlight, but so often, if you can get the ball to him in the pass game, in space, if he's one-on-one with a defender, that guy has got no shot of making the play. Like that first move paralyzes him every time with just absurd quickness.
So other notes that I had, what else did I have here? Elijah Wilkinson holding up for the Falcons. I thought he did fine. He did give up a sack on 3rd and 4. So it all came down to, at the end of the game, Falcons have a go-ahead drive. It's 4th and goal from the 4.
Yeah. Well, this whole late game was weird. There was terrible offsetting call late in the game that let Atlanta get in for their score. They had like a legitimate hold, right? So their side of the offsetting thing, like bad hold, should have been backing them up. And meanwhile, Tampa Bay had what looked like a horrible defensive pass interference call on Bijan Robinson in the end zone. So that like one legit call, one very not legit call, and suddenly it's do-over. And then Atlanta, I think, scored on the next play, or maybe scored certainly in that sequence. Like that, I hate that. That's as bad as like the official just calls whatever defense pass interference and changes the game that way.
Bucs had 2 roughing the penalty calls too on one of those final drives for the Bucs or for the Falcons. Bucs had 2 roughing calls. One was Vita Vea. I don't remember the second one, but there was
had one.
On the other end, yeah, he had a bad play for the Falcons. But I'm
Right.
saying the Bucs defense had 2 roughing calls, I think, on the same drive for against the Falcons. But Michael Penix Jr. on 4th and goal from the 4 reaches the ball barely across the goal line. Reminded me of course, Sam, of the 2020 game when he was in Indiana. That was the closest play I've ever seen at the goal line. Michael Penix reaching on, I think it was a 2-point conversion against Penn State to win the game. Anyway, so it looked like Penix was going to be the hero there, but Mayfield to Ibuka with the game winner, and the Bucs, they struggled against the Falcons last year. I picked the Falcons because of the success that the Falcons offense had had against Todd Bowles and the Bucs defense, but the Bucs getting over that hump is huge for the defending division champs against the team that's probably going to be most competitive against them. So it ends up being a huge win here for the Bucs.
And even after the go-ahead score, Atlanta's driving to try and answer and does a pretty good job of it. And then they get super aggressive. They're not going for the field goal. They're going for the touchdown. And honestly, Antoine Winfield Jr. saves the game for them. They had a play. I forget who was doing the broadcast, but they were like, Zach Robinson comes, from the Sean McVay tree. Those guys are aggressive in these situations. They're not going to watch a shot over the top. They're going to go for the touchdown. Literally, like the two next plays, I think, not just one, were both shots deep. And one of them, Jamel Dean's like on the floor. He gets wrecked, and Winfield gets across and just breaks it up to save a touchdown. That's
huge
the game.
Play.
By the way,
huge play.
I'm always fascinated by this now. Like you've got, things like PFF WAR that try and quantify sort of on a play-by-play basis over the course of a season, random player is worth 0.8 wins above replacement, right? Winfield individually has been responsible for at least 3 plays I can think of in the last 2 years that have genuinely been the difference between winning and losing a football game. So
he was forcing fumbles like at the goal line.
That's
against
3.
Desmond Ridder a couple years ago.
That's 3 wins above replacement player based off 3 snaps. Now, it doesn't work that way.
That's not really how it works at all.
No, but it in a ridiculous way, it actually does. You know what I mean? Like mathematically, that's not the way that works. And yet, Winfield has individually been the difference between winning and losing 3 football games. Like I don't know how you square that circle because you take him off the team and everything else plays out exactly the same. They lose 3 more games in the last 2 years.
Shout out to Greg Graves, who joined as a super fan here. Appreciate all the membership ads here within the chat. But yeah, Winfield making some big plays and saved another one.
And then Koo misses the kick.
Yeah, and then Koo misses. So the Falcons were going for the win. They settle for a game-tying field goal. Koo misses, and last year he did have some issues.
And they have
with his misses.
They have one of these IPP kickers stashed on the practice squad. German kid called Lenny Krieg, I think. He was the guy that at the combine, I think, had a perfect workout, like didn't miss a kick in the entire combine practices. His first kick in preseason was a 57-yarder that he made plenty to spare right down the middle. I don't know how long it takes you to be comfortable in a kicker, once you see this guy like fresh from nothing, because I think a lot of these guys getting opportunities is just confidence in them. But suddenly your star kicker seems to have reached that patch where he's kind of forgotten how to kick consistently. And you do have an option sitting there.
You were making the point on last night's show. Your theory here is because kickers, the difference between 60 and 50 is much smaller than it's ever been. You're saying you think teams are going to start going for the touchdown because they don't care about kicking a 58 or a 60-yard field goal. And it does feel like a lot of the kicking issues across the league yesterday, or Jake Moody, or Harrison Butker missed an extra point for Kansas City, everything the Browns did, Koo missing a field goal. Are we in this world where there are some kickers who are more comfortable, say, with their driver than with their 4-iron, say, right? They're more comfortable from longer distance, and they're getting a little, getting the yips as they get closer.
I don't think it's that. I think it's just kickers are always going to miss kicks, and they're always going to develop the yips, and it's always a confidence thing. But I do think that now that we've just pushed the range out so far, like there used to be a world where kickers were automatic effectively inside of 40, and once you started to push the edge of their range, it was like that's when they start getting iffy and they might miss when you have a shot from the 50s, right? But they had the leg to get there, but getting it there required changing the mechanics or putting 100% into it, 110% into it, and that's where things started to get squirrely. Now you're getting kickers that can make a 70-yard kick with room to spare. I just think that's changing the math late in the game. Now it doesn't mean that like you can have a guy that still goes out there and misses from 36, but that guy could come back the next play and still be good from 65, like 65, 55, 45. It's no different anymore. I think maybe the numbers are still going to go down the further out you get, but not to a massive degree. I think we've just reached a point now where the end of game math is going to start changing for everybody because you no longer have to even pass midfield to attempt a game-winning kick. So if you have a 4th down decision late in the game, let's say there's 2 minutes left on the clock, you're trying to go, well, do I go for this 4th and 2 or do I punt it away, give the other team an opportunity with 2 minutes to go, blah, 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 to try and take the lead? That team needs to move, let's say you decide to punt and you kick it and you pin them inside the 5. They only need to get it like 35, 40 yards for them to have a shot at a kick. Okay, it's a 70-yarder, but like apparently that's doable now.
Yeah, you have a shot.
So
there's good weather,
but there's no longer any downside to going for it because the worst thing that can happen is you go for it, they're in field goal range, right? The second you don't get it and they get the ball, they're already in field goal range. So either way, you have to stop them, right? The worst thing that can happen is they kick the field goal and then you only need to get to midfield to attempt the 70-yarder to answer. So you might as well. at this point because all the upside is in going for it on fourth down and keeping the ball and not letting them have an opportunity.
Just go for everything.
Now, if you can attempt a 70-yard field goal, your defense has no shot because they have to literally hold them the first series, at which point, again, you might as well give them the chance then because the same thing is true. You're no longer like differentiating the assignment on defense.
Anything else on Bucs Falcons?
No. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video.
Check the Mic is live every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, so be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a thing.
And the all-knowing algorithm is convinced you'll also like these videos, and who are we to argue?